Welcome. Namaste, everyone. It is great to see you all today. On behalf of the Hindu Temple Society of North America, we want to welcome you to session 39 of the Hinduism Learning Series, organized by the Young Professionals team of the New York Ganesh Temple, Akshayam. The topic of today's session will be the swastika and its ancient roots in Sanatana Dharma, its application and deep meaning. It is our great pleasure to warmly welcome Dr. Purna Prasad, who is our guest speaker at the last learning series. Dr. Purna Prasad is trained in Vedic philosophy, initially by his grandfather, and later came under the tutelage of Dr. Govindaacharya, an authority on the Vedic body of knowledge. Please join me in welcoming him to our session. Welcome, Dr. Purna Prasad. Would you please be able to start off the session with an introductory prayer?
Absolutely. Harihi Om Jayati Parasharasonuhu Satyavati Hridayanandano Vyasaha Yasya Asya Kamalagalitam Vangmayam Amritam Jagat Pibati Bhujaga Bhogabamudyamya Hridyam Nijabujam Dakshinam Lakshanadhyam Lalitamudrikta Vignanamudram Bhaja Bhaja Anantamitya Alapantam Pranatavan Praninam Pranabhutam Pranatibhi Prinaye Purnabodham भवदवोष्णेन तातप्यमानान् भुवि परं नाथम् अप्रेक्षमाणान् भुवनमन्येन चान्येन दोष्णा भवतु भीर्मा इति नः सान्त्वयन्तम् प्रणतवान् प्राणिनां प्राणभूतं प्रणतिभिः प्रीणये पूर्णबोधं नारायणं सुरगुरुं जगदेकनाथं भक्तप्रियं सकललोकनमस्कृतं च त्रैगुण्यवर्जितमजं विभुमाद्यमीशं वन्दे भवग्नम् अमरासुरसिद्धवन्द्यम् नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय सर्वं श्रीकृष्णार्पणमस्तु श्री गुरु गोविंद दिव्यपादचरणं नमस्करोमि. Thank you.
Dr. Purna Prasad. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Prasad, for joining us today to continue the conversation we started last month. For those of you who weren't able to tune in to last month's session, we highly recommend you watch it. As you know, all of these sessions are available on our Temple's Facebook and YouTube page. Last month, we spoke about the importance of questioning in the Sanatana Dharma and asked one of the most fundamental questions, which is there a God? Today's topic will explore the swastika symbol, something everyone is talking about. It is very important that we understand the deep meaning of the symbol, where it comes from, and how it has been incorporated and used in our ancient traditions and practices. This swastika symbol is not a recent phenomenon, but rather one that has existed for thousands of years. So let's go back to the basics. Dr. Purna Prasad, we have prepared a set of questions to ask you regarding the swastika.
Go ahead.
We will open it up to the audience to ask their questions via Facebook. So for our first question, Dr. Prasad, we would like to know, what is the swastika and what is its significance in our Sanatana Dharma?
Swastika, there is a Vedic meaning behind it and a symbol that actually represents it. That's all it is. But the Vedic meaning behind the swastika is beautiful. So, swastika comes from the word swasti, means universal well-being. That's it. Wishing for universal well-being. When the scholars lectured before in the Vedic times, even today, after they finish the lecture, they say Om Swasti. And that has got enormous amount of meaning packed into it. The word swasti can be found throughout the Vedas, but especially in the very famous Shanti mantra that comes out of the Taittiriya Upanishad. And it's a very beautiful mantra. And then, it is something that you have heard before. I'll just say it once. Om Bhadram Karne Vishnuyama Devaha Bhadram Pashye Makshabir Jetraha Sthirair Angais Tushtuvam Sashtanobihi Vyashema Devahitam Yad Yayuhu Swastina Indro Vruddhashavaha Swastina Pusha Vishwadevaha Swastinastarksho Arishtanemihi Swastino Bruhaspatir Dadhatu Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi. What does this mean? This is beautiful. The Badram Karne Vishnuyama Devaha. He says, oh, the Almighty, the all encompassing, the force, the Devas, let us hear with our ears what is auspicious. Badram Karne Vishnuyama Devaha. Karna means ear. Next, Badram Pashi. What does that mean? Worthy of the great worship, please let us see what is auspicious. Then, Sthirai Rangai, let us have all our sensory organs and bodies focused on this prayer. So, what are the sensory organs? Sight, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching. Let it be unifocused on what? So that we may attain the emotional and physical health and the lifespan allotted to us that we are tuned to for universal peace. Then they start. Swastina Indro Vruddhashavaha, Swastina Pusha Vishwavedaha, Swastina Tarkashyo Arishtanamihi, Swastino Brihaspatir Dadatu Om Shanti Shantihi. Indraha, all our Indriyas, for everybody, for all living things, let it be at peace. Let it be blessed with the greatest attributes. Let the Pushan actually is also, the one who is all knowing, omniscient, bestow the blessings on all of us, means the entire universe. And Tarkshaya is also another name for Garuda. Garuda means that which takes off. That which takes off is knowledge. Let knowledge be bestowed on the entire universe. And then it always should come from the Guru. And here we are praying to the Deva Guru, Brihaspati Acharya, and says that's why it says, Swastino Brihaspatir Dadatu. Let Brihaspati, the Guru Brihaspati, bestow on us all these great blessings for universal well-being. Swasti.
Thank
How's
you.
that for a foundation?
No, that was wonderful. Thank you so much for that.
Sure.
So going on to that, another question we had is, we understand that the symbol has been used in our ancient traditions and practices for thousands of years. Can we find the origins of swastika within our ancient texts and scriptures?
Absolutely. So based on this Shanti mantra of Taittiriya Upanishad, you basically, what happens is, when you articulate, there is clarification, but when you can basically represent it, symbolize it. So when you see the two portions of the swastika, now very important, it is not swastika va, no, it is va, swastika with a v, and it is not swastika, it is swasti. Aka means akara, the shape. So what they did was, our ancient rishis, the Vedic scientists, were very smart. They wanted to basically create a symbol or a campaign, if you may, which actually signifies the forward movement. So if you see the two components of the swastika, you see that when you connect all the edges, you get a circle, a wheel that is moving forward, positive energy. And it cannot be slanted as it is represented in the Nazi regime. It has to be well grounded. Well grounded means all of us, from the yogic sciences, from the spiritual sciences, from the physical sciences, are well grounded in our thought action. So the symbolism of swastika is probably the symbol for universal well-being, and that is what Vedas actually project, propound. And that is the, just at a very high level, how that swastika was composed. There are a lot of components, and we'll talk about it as you ask more questions.
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Prasad. We actually have a few pictures we want to show you
Sure.
of the swastika. Um, so
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
yeah, no, these are actually ancient pictures of the swastika and used, and you see Tamil literature there. We also have it in, we also have the door adorned in the New York Ganesh temple. We have the swastika on the front door of the temple, as you see in this picture over here. We also use it in Rangoli, and use it in Bharatanatyam, our classical dances, and also in yoga, the swastikasana pose that's also used. And we wanted to ask, why and how do Hindus use the swastika in our daily practices, rituals, and auspicious events? Like, for example, when we buy a new car, right, we will adorn the front of the car with the swastika, or when we buy a new laptop. So if you can go into a little bit of how we use these daily practices and rituals within our Sanatana Dharma, that would be very helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. Each of these symbols represent a spiritual thought. When you basically take the Purna Kumbha is called the very heart of the Prakriti Mata, which is Mahalakshmi. Inside that, in the form of water, is Narayana. Narayana means that which exists in water. Water means not just what we see, it is the one that is completely translucent, that is permeable. That is why he is omnipotent. And the Veda says that, right? Antarbahishcha tat sarvam vyapya narayana stitaha. And then you keep the coconut on the top. Coconut is one food that could be used anywhere for anything for whatever purpose. It is a universal food and naturally available in abundance. Its outer shell could be used as fuel. It could be used for even hardening the surfaces. Then the fibers could be used to basically get the yarn out, and then you can use the inside portion to make dishes and eat. And the water is a very good electrolyte. You can drink it. There is not a single portion of coconut that goes waste. So it is called as Purna Phala. That is why they call it as Purna Kumbha Swagata. So on each of these symbols, I mean, we can have an entire session drawing the knowledge from the Vedas to explain why these symbols are used, what is the spiritual meaning behind these symbols. See, a container with water and a coconut is a container with a water and a coconut, but what is the thought that goes behind it? That's the most important thing. And when we welcome somebody, we welcome somebody with that. The same thing with swastika. When you put swastika in the front of your house, that means we are the well-wishers of the universe. We are your well-wishers. Please welcome, come inside. Atiti Devo Bhava, when you put swastika in front of your house. When you put swastika and then you prostrate to your mother, Matru Devo Bhava, to your father, Pitrudevo Bhava. And then when you put swastika, put the offering, the Guru Kanika in front of the Guru. For the Guru offering, you say, Guru Devo Bhava, Acharya Devo Bhava. Then in front of Atiti, Atite Devo Bhava. That is where this came from. The whole concept of swasti, Aka means Akara. The swastika basically signifies universal well-being, universal welcome, camaraderie, brotherhood, sisterhood, and seeing everything, including humans, animals, plants, everything that have life, with a gesture of universal well-being. Swastika probably is the most appropriate symbol in this time of corona.
Thank you so much, Dr. Purna Prasad. That was so very insightful. Going into the shape and everything like that, is there a directionality in the swastika symbol? And if so, what is that significance? Can you
Yeah,
explain that?
yeah. So, as I said, we can go into a whole session with this. So, swastika is composed so that there is this motion, right? When you connect all the edges, it becomes a circle. There is the motion. Now, that motion can be acceleration or deceleration. Acceleration is signifies the sattvika nature, going towards the consciousness as well as the understanding of the supreme godhead, the all encompassing energy. Deceleration is going away from the universal understanding, going away from the knowledge. So the first motion clockwise is called as going towards the acquisition of the knowledge, and the retrograde is going again. So they call it as swastika and swastika. Swastika is the retrogression or the deceleration. That is the whole symbol. And there are four dots there. You remember those four dots are very, very important. It actually signifies the four states of the human consciousness, that is wakefulness, dream, sleep, and the samadhi meditative state. You're muted. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh yeah, no, thank you. That was very insightful. Actually, so I mean, our next question was the four dots that are drawn within each of the quadrants. What is the exact significance of those dots? Do they represent something?
Yeah. So the four dots basically are signifying your wish for universal well-being, swasti, when you are awake, when you are dreaming, when you are asleep, and when you are in the meditative state or the samadhi state. So you have to become the swastika yourself, where your very being, whether you are awake, dreaming, sleeping, or in a meditative state, you are wishing for Om Swastihi.
Thank you so much for that, Dr. Prasad. So we also know that many of the symbols in our religious rituals are used because of their power to create and propagate this positive energy within the space. Is there like such positive energy associated with the swastika in its form and how it's used?
Yeah. There are very different meditation techniques that use the swastika, and then they use the imagery of the swastika in order to start what is called as concentrated journey towards a universal peaceful mental state. It actually comes in different meditation techniques. We can actually talk about it one day. And the reason is, when you observe swastika, it actually creates almost like an hypnotic effect on you. And then as you go from the sides to the center and to this place where the swastika actually coincides, the two components coincide, that is basically where you start realizing what is called as the awareness of the self in meditation. In fact, the center could be the very bindi you are actually wearing. Yeah, that is where the two components of the swastika come together.
Yeah.
And of course, there is the acceleration or the motion towards knowledge and motion against the knowledge. And as you develop the techniques in order to get your meditation to higher levels, you use symbols like swastika, like Om, and you will see all of them have a circular connotation to it, and a motion, acceleration, and a movement towards the realization of this all encompassing energy.
This. Yeah. But moving forward, we see that living in the United States, we're part of a society that secularizes religious concepts and
Hmm.
symbols, right?
Hmm.
Which which then runs this huge risk of being misappropriated. And unfortunately, the swastika, our sacred swastika, has been misappropriated for use in a context that goes against our fundamental belief system that it's supposed to represent. So, for us young adults, what is your advice to young Hindus growing up in the States who will be exposed to these issues in their schools, workplaces, or other, common places? And how do we defend our Sanatana Dharma?
One good thing is Sanatana Dharma need not be defended, right? Because you just have to articulate your understanding, some very basic understanding. So swastika means swasti. What is the meaning of swasti? Swasti means universal well-being. That's all. And if possible, I would highly encourage them to learn this. Shanti mantra. It's very simple. We will send it and put it up with meaning. Even if you are not comfortable with Samskrita, at least the English meaning of it. How we basically are praying that all our sensory organs, all our organs that basically give us action, be focused on the well being of others. That is the beauty of it. Swasti means the well being of others, and others includes humans, plants, and animals.
It's all encompassing, right?
All encompassing. That is the message. So once you understand that message and tell your friends, look, this comes from tens of thousands of years of tradition. Here is the meaning from the Vedic scriptures. And here it is very simple. Universal well-being. It's not complicated. It's not something, it's not quantum mechanics or rocket science. It is wishing everybody that universal well-being, whether it is health, wealth, energy, knowledge. That is all we are doing here. This is the symbolism of that. Unfortunately, it was used for a horrible purpose, but we should only take what it was meant for, not how it actually was politically and taken and completely twisted for a purpose that was destructive. In fact, what they did was completely opposite to what was swastika stands for. Complete opposite to what swastika stands for. That would be the message I think would be extremely helpful.
I completely agree on that, and I think that's very insightful. Thank you, Dr. Prasad. But what's the controversial issue, and going into that a little bit more. So, how do we change the way the swastika is perceived? Since unfortunately it has a negative connotation in the Western world, like within our Indic studies and everything like that, we understand the deep rooted meaning of the swastika. So how do we make this change through the Western world, because it has such a negative perception?
Absolutely. We can adopt the same technique that our Vedic rishis adopted is to we need to have a very big campaign. That campaign needs to be very clear regarding the seminal origin of swastika and its meaning in very simple sentence. Okay. And this campaign has to be from the word of mouth, through the social media, through the print media, and through the electronic media, because we need to expose the truth. We don't have to propagate it. Truth will propagate by itself. We just expose the truth. Then people who do not understand the Vedic origins and the Vedic meaning will start appreciating it. For example, I can tell you the other nasty thing that so-called neo-Nazis do is to burn the cross, correct? Yeah. Cross signifies some of the highest spiritual symbolisms, just like swastika. Okay. And a cross signifies, if you analyze the cross through the Upanishad, my Guru Bannaje Govindaacharya actually explained The real meaning of cross is it's got a vertical axis and a horizontal axis. The horizontal axis represents the relationship from human to human, and the vertical between human and divine. And we need to be at the center cusp where we are able to realize the camaraderie between our fellow brethren and sisterin, as well as our connection to the Supreme. That's it. Swastika does the same thing, is to take you in more of a, you know with motion of the knowledge, propagation of the knowledge, in order to understand this universal all encompassing energy, wishing the greatest comfort and well-being for everybody.
Right, right. For every single divine creature, right? Right, for
That
everybody.
is why Sarva Swasti all signifies Sarve Jana Sukhino Bhavantu,
Mm,
Om Swastihi.
mm.
So, all signifies the same type of a very universal peace and harmonious message. So
Um,
this has to be propagated.
right, right, right. So yeah, I mean, I think also, are there certain places in the temple or in the home where this symbol should be drawn, or can it be, anywhere, or like, because I see that people like my parents used to put the swastika on their worksheets or on their, homework and stuff like that, or is it specifically supposed to be in a certain place?
No, no, it is a universal message. It
Mm.
can be anywhere, but since we don't understand, or many of us won't understand the meaning behind it, there needs to be a title, swastika with aspiring for universal peace or for universal well-being, a symbol of universal well-being. When we say peace, we do this, right? This signifies peace, so it's symbol, but we need to understand what that symbol is. And a symbol can be misused, as it was proved by those brutal dictatorship. But we have to set it right, and the only way is through communication and a very big campaign where we all, you know put our hands and heads together, use the electronic media, use the print media, and use the audio media, just like this, to draw the knowledge from the Vedic scriptures. Very simple, nothing complicated, but make sure that even in the temples and other places of congregation, if we actually are having any type of, the Vedic instances there, when we put symbols, let's put a line below so they understand what that is. A symbol without an explanation could be misconstrued very easily, right? So a great example is when you put a peace symbol on a 1,000-pound bomb and then you drop it on a community. Then when they do the post-bombing analysis, what they find is the symbol, and that symbol becomes the significance of that bombing. But the symbol was a peace symbol, and they just misused it. So that's the way swastika was misused, unfortunately.
So, Dr. Purna Prasad, is there a proper way in which the symbol should be drawn? Should you start with the dots first or with the lines? Because the Om has a certain, structure to it when we draw it.
Yeah, you can start with the four dots, which actually signifies, Vishwa Taijasa Pragna Turya, which is your wakeful state, your dream state, your sleeping state, and the meditation state, and then draw the two parts of this swastika, or you want to draw swastika, which actually signifies, my body as a whole, and then the four conscious state. Whatever is comfortable, as long as you get the message together. That integration messaging is the most important thing.
Okay, thank you so much. This was very insightful. Thank you for elaborating on all of this. Um, and 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 I just wanted to encourage anybody who has any questions and answers, because we have Dr. Purna Prasad here today to give us all this knowledge. Please ask your questions on Facebook, and just, and I'll read them out loud for you. And I think we have one question from Shobha Ravi. How is swastika, Om, and Sri are related both religiously and spiritually?
Great question, Shobha. So, swastika is, in a sentence, the aspiration for universal well being. Om represents all these beings and their four different stages that I told you: the wakeful, the dream, the sleepy, as well as the meditative stage. Now, holding all this, enabling the power of Om and the message of Swasti is the Shrikara, which is the environment we live in, Mahalakshmi. So they are all related. One is the methodology, that is Swastika. Om is the primal energy that enables our existence, and Shri is the environment that basically holds us in order to achieve those two. So they are fully interconnected.
Thank you so much. And I don't see that we have any further questions for today's session. So just a few closing remarks. So yes, I think we covered if there was a proper way to draw it. But so on behalf of the Hindu Temple Society of North America, we want to extend a big thank you to our guest speaker, Dr. Purna Prasad,
Sure.
for taking the time out of your busy schedule to come on live with us today and guiding us through these questions. Thank you very much. It was very helpful, very insightful, and we have so much more to learn, to practice our Dharma.
Absolutely.
And yeah, definitely. And we welcome you anytime you have free time to come again, Dr. Prasad. And a quick announcement before we close off. Tomorrow, Sunday, April 18th at 2 p.m. Eastern, we will be working the arrival of spring with our annual Holy Earth Day program with colorful Indian dances by students from East West School of Dance of Muktambar, Fine Arts, and have a talk on the Holy Festival and Earth Day by the students of the Ganesh Pathshala. Please tune in tomorrow virtually right here on the Temple's Facebook and YouTube pages to join in on the festivities and encourage our children. Thank you all for coming and contributing to support the temple. Thank you, Dr. Purna Prasad. And
Sure.
may you please have a closing prayer for us.
Absolutely. Just a couple of sentences. The work is in front of us in order to clarify the significance of swastika and to start undoing the evil that was done to this holy symbol from tyrants like Adolf Hitler, which he unfortunately got it the wrong way in a very coercive way from a philosophy that was well tested and stood the test of times from thousands and thousands of years. Let's pray to Almighty to bless us with the strength, perseverance, and the methodology in order to reestablish the universal well being of swastika through this wonderful prayer. हरि ओम कायेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रियैर्वा बुद्ध्यात्मना वा अनुसृत स्वभावा करोमि यद्यत् सकलं परस्मै श्रीमन्नारायणायेति समर्पयामि. ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय. ओम स्वस्तिः. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Purna Prasad. Thank you all for continuing to support the temple. See you soon, and namaste.